In some countries, there exists a beautiful golden orb in the sky that some people call the sun. In this country, we don't get to see it much, but when it comes out, it creates warmth on your face and it makes you smile. But what if you could run your vehicle, your electric vehicle, on pure sunshine? And what if you could heat the water in your hot water tank from pure sunshine too? Well, that's what we're going to talk about in today's video, because thanks to the magic of technology from a company called MyEnergi, I'm installing a system that enables my customer to do just that. They're going to be able to charge their Nissan Leaf from pure sunshine and heat the water in their house from pure sunshine too. So, as always, if you enjoy my videos, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, because I know that 72.1% of you haven't subscribed, and that's not acceptable. And if you hit the notification bell, then you won't miss out on future videos. Let's get into it. Good morning and welcome back to another episode of Artisan Electrics, EV charging specialists. We're here today to the rescue because this old, horrible BP Chargemaster point is, well, it's never really worked properly. So we are going to be ripping this out and putting in a Zappi. So that's going to be much better. Hopefully going to reuse the existing cabling and switchgear for it, but we're going to take a look at that and see if it's actually up to the challenge and can hold the amount of current that the Zappi will pull. Also, we've got an Eddi to install, which is like an immersion heater controller, which enables you to heat your hot water from your excess solar energy, because the customer here has got a 4 kilowatt solar array. So we're going to be installing an Eddi which will work together with the Zappi and enable them to be able to use as much of that solar energy to charge their vehicle and heat up their hot water tank, rather than selling it back to the grid at a price that would be cheaper, less than if they just use the electricity themselves. So it should be a fun little job. I'm by a busy road, so it's a little bit noisy. But I'm going to just start opening this stuff up, check it out, see what it's like first, and make sure it's okay for us to connect to the existing cable. Otherwise we might have to install a new cable for it. I think it's a 4mm 3-core, so we should be fine with that, as it's a fairly short run. But I'll let you know how I get on. So this is the meter box, and we've got a 100 amp main fuse. It's a TNCS system. They've obviously installed the charging point, the Chargemaster point, before the regulations came in about earth electrodes for charging points and stuff. So it's not got its own earth electrode, but they have put an RCD in, but it's only a type A RCD. So ideally, really, what we need to do is change this for a main switch and change that for a 32 amp MCB. So I'm going to open this up and have a look, see what's inside, how it looks. Right, so it's 4mm NYY cable. It's not actually steel wire armoured. And to be honest, I don't know that much about NYY, so if it's run in like this, I mean, it's clip direct basically, it's just running the gravel around the corner, but you can see the clips here, so it's literally just buried, just below. I would count that as clip direct basically. It's not really buried as such. Clip direct all the way. Runs along up here, clipped, down and into the box here, and then up into the charge point. I'm guessing that because it's clip direct, it shouldn't need RCD protection for it. So what I will probably do is install a main switch and a 32 amp MCB. The charge point itself obviously needs RCD protection, but in the Zappi that's cared for within the charge point, because the Zappi has its own RCD protection built into it and pen fault detection, so we don't need to worry about putting an earth electrode in or anything like that. So hopefully I can either reuse this enclosure and try and get hold of a Proteus main switch and MCB, or I'm going to have to get a little small consumer unit with a main switch and an MCB to go in there instead. If I can just get a Proteus one, then that will be okay, but if I have to put a different brand in there, then it would have to be type tested, so I would have to install a different consumer unit to match. So this is the junction box that the NYY cable comes into, and they've literally just put it in connectors, and then they've run singles, 4mm singles up into this flexible conduit, up into the bottom of the charge master point. It's only a 16 amp point, and hence why it's on a 20 amp breaker at the moment. But to be honest, these charge master points are absolutely rubbish. These are the ones that they basically install for free, and the charging cable is so flimsy and thin feeling, and it's just not really nice. Tethered unit, you know, and the plug just plugs in the front, but it just looks horrible as well. There are going to be hundreds or even thousands of these around the country that have been chucked in and are going to have to be ripped out over the coming years, because they just either break or the customer's just not happy with them. So in the end, it's better to just get it done properly and do it once and do it properly. Get yourself a nice charging point. At the end of the day, you're relying on it to run your car, so you really should go with something quality and pay a bit extra, rather than just going for the cheapest option. So in order to open this up, there's a little grub screw at the bottom there with an Allen key, so I've got to undo that, and then presumably this whole thing will just lever off the wall. Yeah, so it was simple as that. I undid the grub screw in here, and then the whole thing just levers off. You just lever it up like that, slide it off, and it's got this back plate that it mounts to. Fairly solid looking back plate. But yeah, not a lot holding it on really. And then obviously the whole thing is enclosed, guaranteed void if seal broken, so I'm guessing these just come as sealed units with this flex already, and then you literally just you know, do the connectors like they've done, and you don't actually ever have to open up this unit, probably to avoid people doing stupid things. Right, so I've got the old charge point off the wall now, and this cable can just be re-terminated into the new charging point. Ideally, I'd like to have it a little bit lower. I mean, I'd like to have the Zappi sort of here, ideally, so what I'm hoping is I can get a bit of extra slack on this cable. Otherwise, I'm going to have to maybe put a junction box at the top there, and then extend down with a new bit of this cable or something, and then just to go in the bottom of the Zappi, because I like to go in the bottom if possible. I could go in the side possibly, but I'm not sure. So we're up here at the immersion heater tank now. As you can see, we've got the immersion heater here. It's a nice big tank, so plenty of potential to store lots of hot water heated up from the solar. At the moment, it's just on this 20 amp double pole isolator switch, and what we're going to do is basically run a cable down from that along the bottom here, run it up here and into the eddy, which we're going to put here. It will just fit, thankfully. So put the eddy just in there like that, and it's accessible for maintenance. Then we can get the cover off easily enough, and then the flex that goes into the heating element, we can literally just wire straight out of the eddy here. And basically what it does is it wirelessly communicates with the wireless CT Harvey unit that we're going to put in, and if there's any exported solar going out to the grid, instead of exporting it, what it'll do, it'll use it to heat the hot water in the tank. Right, so as this is not long enough, what I'm going to do is put a whisker box up there and then put a new piece of cable, just get a new bit of this, hopefully, if I can get some from the wholesalers, and then run it down and loop up into the bottom of the charger. That's going to be neater that way, and it's going to enable us to have the charger at the right height, really. So that's the plan with that. And then out here in the meter box, I've got CEF, who make Proteus. They've got a main switch and an MCB which will go in here, and they've assured me that they're going to send me a document which says that it's okay to use an M2 main switch and MCB in a Proteus enclosure, because basically they're manufactured by the same company, it's just got a different writing on it. So that's fine by me. So I'm just going to be able to reuse this existing enclosure and literally just change the the RCD to a main switch and the MCB to a 32 amp, and then that will make everything fine for connecting the Zappi. Right, so I've had a bit of a trekking around to get some bits and pieces, but I'm back now, and I've got the untethered Zappi because there was a little bit of confusion. I should have been supplying an untethered one, but I brought a tethered one with me. Fortunately, the wholesaler in Cambridge that I use for my electric vehicle charging points has loads in stock, but I had to book a pickup time with them for the COVID thing, so it took me a little while, but I'm back here now. I've got everything that I need. So I've got that new junction box now up there, whisker box. That is just to extend the existing cable. I picked up a few extra meters of the NYYJ 4mm 3-core cable, so that's all good. And today's tool of the day is this Knipex Ergo strip. This is one of my favourite little tools of late, especially for stripping cables like steel wire armoured cables, flex cables or NYYJ cables. It's sort of a multi-tool for stripping these kind of things, and it just makes life so much easier. So I'll leave a link in the description where you can get yourself one of these if you haven't already, and let me know if you've got one. Let me know if you love it. Also check out my Tools for Sparks YouTube channel where I talk only about tools. I have made a review video of this over on there, so check that out. Right, so the Zappi is in and it's all gone in fairly easily and neatly, so that's good. I've just been updating the firmware so that the latest firmware is on board. The hub is connected into the router. The Harvey is connected, so that's sending the data from the CTs to say how much electricity is being taken from the grid or fed back into the grid. And what I'm going to do is put an additional CT on the solar tails so that we can measure exactly how much energy the solar system is producing as well. And then I'm going to go up and do the Eddi next. So my next magic trick is that I need to get a cable from here for the CT up to behind there where the main consumer unit is, because that's where the solar feeds in. So I've got the little tails for the solar. I've got to get the CT on there and then get the CT cable down here. So what I'm going to do is just measure here, drill up at an angle from the meter box, and there's a painting behind there. I'm going to come out behind the painting, then run a little bit of trunking up the wall to the consumer unit box and put the solar CT in there, hopefully. I'm going to dust sheet it on the other side now and then give it a go. Right, so in order to actually drill up in the right place, the center of the painting is about here, and I need to go up here through this hole. But there are tails in the way, and I'm very scared that if I drill next to them, I'm going to damage them. So I've come up with an idea, which is I've got my long drill. If I put my drill through this 20mm conduit here, the conduit will actually stop the drill from touching the other cables, and should be able to just drill straight through without damaging either of the other cables. So going to give it a go and see if it works. Okay, looks like I'm through. Okay, good, so I'm through, so I can run that up and trunking up to there. Job done. Right, so that cable for the CT is now in. It was slightly below the painting, so I've had to fill it in there, but basically most of it's going to be hidden behind the painting. You'll just see a tiny little bit of trunking going up at the top. That's the way the customer wanted it, so that's what we did. And then up here, I've now got the CT on the solar tail coming in. So that is measuring, it's telling us we've got about 2.4 kilowatts of solar input at the moment today. Obviously there's a bit of excess cable for the CT, so I'm going to just cable tie that neatly at the end. And that at the other end of this cable, it goes into the Harvey, which is the wireless communication device which sends the signal over to the Zappi. So now I'm going to go upstairs and do the Eddi. So here we are in the immersion heater cupboard, and I've got a new immersion heater thermostat to go in there because it doesn't have a backup cutout this, so I'm just going to change that over while I'm at it. That's the switch, which is fine, we can reuse that. I'm just going to run a twin and earth out of there, clip it all the way down, along and up here, mount the Eddi here, take the twin and earth feed in on that side, and then I'm just going to put a new bit of heat resistant flex from here into there with some ferrules, do it all nicely, and that should do the trick. So first things first, I'm just going to get this fixed up and then go from there. I thought I might show you just what's inside these as well, because I've never done one of these before on my channel. Very, very simple, very easy to install. You've got a supply side here with your cable grip there. So you literally take your live, neutral and CPC into those terminals. So that's the feed in. And then you've got two outgoing terminals for immersion heater 1, immersion heater 2. So you can have two immersion heaters coming off this if you want to. Two neutral terminals, two CPC terminals. So all I'm going to be using is H1 and the neutral and CPC, because I've only got one immersion heater to come off this. And then it's just a case of livening it up and programming it, pairing it up with the hub, and then getting it so that it's communicating properly with the CTs so that it knows what's coming and going. There is a switch on the bottom here, so you can boost the immersion heater 1, immersion heater 2, etc. But I'm just going to leave that off for the moment. So yeah, let's get it mounted up. Right, so we're nearly there now. So we've got the immersion heater has been rewired, put ferrules on the connections so everything's nice and neat, and I've put the new thermostat with the backup cutout in so that that's safer. And then I've got the Eddi here. So basically you've got the feed in, live, neutral, earth on this side, and then the feed out with the heat resistant flex to the immersion heater on that side. And that's it really. Then the cable, I've just clipped it all the way down, along and up here to the isolator switch, which is a double pole 20 amp isolator. It's on a 16 amp circuit anyway, so that's absolutely fine. So I'm just going to program the Eddi now. So what we've got to do is get my light over here, turn it on like so, and then just go through the setup process basically. So here we are at the Zappi, and straight away we've gone into pairing mode and it's found the Eddi here, and so it's just going to add the Eddi to the system now as well, so that we've got everything on the same system. So now it's showing us that we're producing about 2 kilowatts of solar energy. The house is all happy and smiling because it's got free electricity going into it. None of that is being fed back to the grid at the moment, and I think that's wrong. I think maybe I've got the grid CT the wrong way around, so I'm just going to have to check that. Right, so that's all set up, so you can see now how it works. So we've got 2.2 kilowatts of solar coming into the house from the solar array. The house is using half a kilowatt, and then 1.7 is being fed out to the grid. The maximum temperature has been reached with the tank, so it's not going to heat the tank up with the excess solar electricity. But if the thermostat, if the tank was cool, then it would be basically, instead of sending that electricity to the grid, it would be sending it into the immersion heater, so that you're using all the excess solar to heat your water, and that then saves you on gas or oil or whatever your heating system is. So it's quite a good, efficient way of using the solar electricity. And if you've got your car plugged in, then it will prioritise the car first. If the car's fully charged, then it will fill the heating hot water tank, and if the hot water tank's full, then it will start selling your electricity to the grid. So it's a great little system, really.